Welcome to
The Cleaning,
a podcast about Apple TV Plus's show Silo Season 2. My name is Catfish, and with me, as always, is the second most important University of Georgia grad associated with this episode. It's Bubba!
Catfish, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 10, the finale, Into the Fire. The rebels make their move, and so does Juliette.
Wait, is this Star Wars? Sorry, okay, Rebels, got it.
Let's do it, Catfish. We normally have a little bit of vamping. No more vamping. Let's get to it. What is your rating out of 10 for this season final episode of Silo?
Bubba, I got to give a couple caveats first. I really smacked around last episode, even though it wasn't the episode's fault. But you know, that's the way I am. You know what? I'm gonna assess the whole season. And number two, I read the book. Whoa. So I have been comparing this season unfavorably to what happens in the book. So, of course, I'm going to give this episode 10. What I like to call double B's out of 10.
Double B's?
Double B's, and that is better than the book.
Whoa.
So much better. If I had another
B,
so much better than the book. Wow, W-O-W, wow. I was swept away by this episode. The action, the tension, Bubba, the depth and complication of what's going on in here compared to the end of the book, which is pretty much just Juliette's story.
No spoilers on the book, you dumb bastard.
I'm not doing here's my spoiler.
I can read it. I can read right here. You're about to spoil the book, you buffoon.
Well, okay, I'm just saying, what happens here is 20 times more complicated and involved and involving a whole bunch more people. This is not just Juliette's story. This is Lucas's story. It's the mechanical story. It's Bernard's story. It's Sim's story. And hey, let's give it to her. Who comes out on top? Camille. It's Camille's story.
It is Camille's story. I agree. Okay.
Algorithm story, what it's going to do if there's a revolution. All of this is so much more complicated and in depth than what happens in the book. This is a far more complicated story. This is like the book comparing like a fifth grade story of the Knights of Sir Lancelot and the Round Table compared to Game of Thrones. Bubba, this is I am just blown away. I don't have a lot of individual stuff to say here. I mean, they made me think that they made me think that Knox and everybody didn't actually know whether Walker was a spy. They gave me that fake out, and then it turns out she wasn't a spy all along. Maybe not all along. I couldn't actually tell if she'd been doing her silent communication all along or whether it was later. And if it was all along, Knox didn't need to be so heavy-handed last episode, but I didn't care, Bubba. Bernard, no. Not only did he take the L, but he had to sit there and listen to Walker's story, and then there was a nice fake out with the bomb. Bubba, even loved what happened in Silo 17. I found it emotional, and I cared about Solo. The end is a nice, delicious little tease. The very tag you set back in the past, our soon to be future. Bubba.
Yeah.
I don't know what your rating is on this episode, but you have to agree with me that it is so many more people's stories in the show than it is in the book, and that's what makes it far superior. Okay, you may not agree with that last part, but you have to agree with me on that first part, that it is so many more people's stories than Juliette's, and in the book, it's really just Juliette's story.
Am I allowed to talk? Am I allowed to give my rating, Catfish, out of 10?
Bubba, who cares what I think, even though I'm right on this episode?
I never care. I'm going to edit
go ahead,
all that
let
out.
you the whole thing. It's all gone.
Everything out.
Better than the book, Bubba. All right, so are you going to give this a 9.5 or a 9, Bubba? That's as low as I'm allowing you to go. What's your rating for this week's episode?
Well, Catfish, I am gonna take the lower of the two options you give me. I am giving this 9 triple P's out of 10.
Yes, triple P. Wait, what? Triple P's?
pesky pacing problems, even in this episode.
No, you can't.
Catfish, let me celebrate what I love about this episode.
That's
this
better than the book.
And admittedly, it insults a bit of this whole season to it. It shows that when the show wants to ramp up the tension, they can do it. I'll get to negatives in a bit. When they can totally ramp it up, it is great. Papa Nichols, Papa went pow. R.I.P. Ian Glenn. Hell yeah! If you're gonna go, that's the way to go. The end scene. Jessica Henwick is gonna be in this show. I think she's the actress playing Helen in that final scene. I love it. I love her. I think it's exciting. This show is so great. And I'll give you this, Catfish, because this isn't a book podcast. You forgot that for seemingly the fall of your rating. But I agree with your statement that the show has kind of brought up all these characters. I will disagree that this is better than the book. This is really good. This episode is really good. This season, oh my Lord, don't get me started. And that's what happened last week and this week. These last two episodes are so good, it actually makes me hate the earlier episodes even more with their pacing problem. And I'll just stick to this episode. This episode has such great tension, such great thrills. Oh my God, it's so great. And then we're going to come to a screeching halt when Lucas goes to visit his mom. I probably like the Lucas mom character okay if we had spent any time with her. But to me,
last week.
To me, that felt like a hard slam on the brakes of tension. And the episode did it a million times. Audrey and Eder, a.k.a. Hope. Audrey and Hope, their fight, I actually didn't agree with you. I didn't push you too hard last week. But when Catfish, you were like, why do I care about these kids in Silo 17? We just met them. I actually didn't feel that way in episode 9. I really did like them. In episode 10, the fight between Audrey and Eder, once again, it's about stakes. And you got to realize kind of, how similar stakes need to go together. Their argument, we can't appreciate it. We can't care about it. And it's so much lower stakes than everything else. By going to it, it felt like I was getting whiplash in this episode. I want to stay in the great stuff, in the tense stuff, in all the things that you went 10 out of 10 about. I want to stay in that. But to me, certain parts of the episode, it's like stepping on the brakes. And then finally, I want to say this. And once again, this is an argument that is really going to say more about the season than it is about this episode. But you can't have a giant angry mob screaming, we're going to go outside. We've got a battering ram to go outside. That just appear out of nowhere in the final episode, right? These guys, people screaming, we want to go out. We're going to take a battering ram to go out. Where were all these people? Even Patrick Kennedy, the one person we focused on. Before last week, did you have any idea that he was so frustrated he's going to scream and lead a mob to go outside? It felt like it came out of nowhere. It's good. It's tense. I was tense. But to me, it felt like it came out of nowhere.
Okay, well, Bubba, let me just say this. That's what I felt about the last episode.
Okay.
And so I kind of knew we were going to get here. Now, the way we got it was very exciting, but I think those complaints have to be about last episode.
Yeah, the season.
Okay, fine.
In other words, if it hadn't felt like it had come out of nowhere, some of this stuff I would be higher on. And if certain things didn't feel like it was stepping on the brake right as we're building up speed, I would have gone 10 out of 10. There's so much about this episode I love. Once again, wrenching up the tension when they want to, showing people being smart. There were a lot of smart plans in this, right? Like we've watched some things and we go, is this really what you're doing? Even the Sims, even Rob Sims, who you've been so tough on, he was more complex. This was the best version of Rob Sims we've ever had, I would say. That is great. That is tense. And people are so tough on poor Common's acting. I thought his acting was perfect in this episode. It was almost perfect for me, except this kind of stepping on the brakes, which happened what felt like 6 or 7 times, right as we're building great tension. I won't talk about that too much because when we break down the episode, we're going to be talking about specific instances. And, kind of if you look at it from the 30,000 foot view, this is perfect. This is why we love the show. This is why we podcast about the show. I've said my pesky points, and now I'm ready to celebrate a great season ender.
I love it, Bubba. Let's do it. But wait, You know what?
What?
I've had my piece, and I have, Bubba, you give me a hard time for talking about the book. We've talked about the book throughout the season, so I feel like it's fair to say, of all the times we've compared it to the book and have been down, for me to talk about the time when I compared to the book and I feel up.
Fair enough.
So it's not a spoiler, but anyway, who cares what Bubba thinks? We want to know what you think.
Heck
so
yeah.
You have got to reach out to us at double PHQ on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, just write a note and put it in a bottle, put it in the ocean. You know what? We had somebody this week email us. Bubba, how long has it been since you mentioned that email address? It's hello@doublepmedia.com. We want to hear everything from everybody. This is so exciting. And you know what, Bubba?
What?
We like to give things to our listeners. And what are those things? Podcasts. So listen, even though this is the end of Silo, we've got Double M, Matt Murdick's Bustin' Blockbusters, The Wheel of Time, Season 3 in March. We've got a Parsec Passion and/or Season 2 coming up in April. And next week, it's going to be a little bit late, but we're going to start on Season 2 of Severance next week. So that is going to be exciting. Look for that maybe Wednesday or something like that. We're going to be a little late this week on it, but we are so excited. We never want to stop podcasting.
We joke around a lot. We want to thank you. If you've listened to this podcast, you are part of a great community, and we want to thank you for being with us on these 10 weeks of fun in Silo. And thank you so much. And we do have more podcasts coming. If you haven't watched some of our shows in our archives, our ridiculous silliness is on full display in many shows. Go back and check them out. And speaking of silliness on full display, Catfish, episode 10 was long episode. Is it better in our current world or better in the Silo? Based on episode 10, what says you?
Well, Bubba, let me say, there is like a revolution in the Silo. People might go out. The world might kill them.
Yep.
So better in the Silo, Bubba, than where we are right now. Things are starting to heat up here in the good old US of A at the beginning of 2025. Send me to the Silo, Bubba. Double S. Silo scrubbing.
Well, Catfish, I have to say that look in Silo 17. We have these two women in Audrey and Eater/Hope fighting each other over nonsense, getting angry at each other, just really, brawling at each other. So it's better in our real world because I can watch an episode of Real Housewives 24/7. I don't have to just wait for Eater and Audrey to get angry. I can have women yelling at each other all the time.
Bubba, you have never watched 1 minute of any.
Actually, I have not. I have not. That's been embarrassing.
Is that
they actually fight? I assume they fight on the show.
Yes, they do. Sorry. That's what they're there for.
Hey, Real Housewives of Atlanta here. The fighting 15th. Let's go. Let's fight. Heck yeah.
All right, Bubba. Listen, I managed to gather together some examples. We're going to continue the double S this week.
Double S?
Silo Slam. We've got some nice disses here, and I've got two choices for you to vote on. This is Carla when she meets Walker, and it turns out she thinks that Walker has ratted them all out. And Carla says to Walker, I hope he sends you out to clean.
Ooh, ouch. Ouch. Ouchie.
And then later on in the episode, we see little lost Bernard. He's lost his mojo. He comes across Sims. He's like, congratulations, you're my shadow. Also, I quit, so now you're in charge. And he says to Sims, you were loyal until you weren't.
And the way Bernard says it is so delicious with no energy and, the malice is there, but it's like, I don't have time to put you in your place, Sims. Take that later, loser. Well, if those are my two choices, then you know which one I have to vote for. The algorithm telling Sims, hey, you and your son get out of here. I want to talk to your wife. That was the best Silo slam, in my opinion.
You know what, Bubba?
Yeah.
Even though I didn't write it down, I have to completely agree with you. The algorithm FTW.
Okay, boy, Catfish, we had so much going on, and in some ways it's going to be hard to silo these storylines. So probably we should still start with Silo 17. A lot of action. You said you kind of came around on the story, so let's get into it as we break it down. Solo has returned to his family apartment, and that has to be emotional. That has to be tough. Juliette was acting the way you reacted to this storyline a bit last week, Catfish. She was like, get on with it. But Jimmy, how about this? Along. Should we call him Solo or Jimmy now? What do you say?
No, I'm just going to call him Solo.
Okay. So Jimmy is there. He's very sad about his mother.
Oh, that was so smooth, Bubba.
And one of the things that I wonder about is that, you know, so much is happening in these final 2 episodes. Has Juliette sat the kids down and said, you know, kids, it turns out I'm from another silo? Like, wouldn't that blow their minds? But maybe it happened off screen. You know, she's saying she's leaving. Maybe the kids somehow knew it. Is it possible the kids could have known there were other silos from their parents?
Oh.
Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
She must have explained it to him. They must have asked her at one point. After they stopped trying to kill her, they asked her where the heck she came from.
Now, how about this, Catfish? This was something I thought you would actually dislike. Why? Because when we were viewing the middle part of the season, Solo and Juliette have had at least 2, maybe 3 episodes of talking to each other. And suddenly in an episode, Solo's like, oh yeah, have I mentioned that this silo's flooding with water? And you were like, why did he mention this earlier? Here, Jimmy is back in his family apartment. He finds a note that says safeguard procedure, and suddenly he remembers a bunch of stuff, a bit like the water rising in his silo. He's like, oh, wait, here's something else that's very important that we should talk about. And certainly very juicy of possibilities, the infamous safeguard procedure. So that didn't bother you at all that suddenly Solo's talking about it?
It didn't bother me. And also, I thought it was very cool because to find it out from this other storyline what the safeguard procedure actually is. I thought that was really, really cool.
Well, what's great about it is that it once again ties them really together. We've often mentioned how Silo 17 can feel off in its own world. The fact that both silos are dealing with a specific issue, this safeguard procedure, love it. I think it's so good. Now, Eater and Hope, we kept saying, well, is she going to go back with Juliette? She really doesn't want to be here. Talk about a tough life for young Hope. She's only known one silo, kind of only known these other kids that are friends, but she's so sick of being picked on as the Eater. Hope really wants to leave. So again, last week, Catfish, you were like, I just met these characters. How can I connect with their problem? It feels like this week you were able to with Hope. Talk us through that.
Yeah, no, I did. Again, now that we've had a week to be with them, I don't need too much time. So it would have helped if we'd have gotten to know them a little sooner. But this week I did feel their plight. I felt Solo's plight kind of more heavily. I have been really hard on him as far as like, I don't care about his storyline. Whenever he whines, I'm just like, just shut your yap. But I really, really felt it tonight, you know, and the kids, I mean, horrible Eater. That's just horrible. I didn't care before that they were so mean to her. Now I care.
Have you ever had a mean, painful nickname like Eater's nickname? Has any kids called you name or anything like that happen?
You know, I don't know. Maybe back in like 5th grade, I do remember someone at one time calling me Chris the Piss. That's it.
That's brutal. I'm sure I was called a lot of silly names when I was growing up, but the one I really remember is, and I think I've told this story on a podcast before, is that I went and got a haircut one time. And, you know, in high school, you know, I was probably sophomore in high school, you get it, you know, tight on the sides and kind of poofy on top or let it grow on top. And I got my hair cut And my mom was kind of complaining about when I got home, my mom was complaining about my haircut. I'm like, what's wrong with my haircut? She goes, it makes you look like Dumbo, big ears. I was like, Mom.
Wow. Wow. I got some no-name fifth grader just takes a shot at me, and that does not compete with your own mother. Just crushing you.
Right.
Thanks, Mom.
She had the best silo slam back when I was a sophomore. That was a sophomore slam.
Happy birthday, Ma.
So, okay, get back to the show. The safeguard is a pipe, man. And there's all sorts of certain hints. I don't want to go maybe too far down this rabbit hole because we do have some book knowledge. Catfish, you've read all 3 books or just the first book?
No, just the first one. Just the first one.
There's some good information here to silo speculate on. And that is that Solo says a bunch of interesting things. You know, his dad told the rioters, the rebels in his Silo 17, that he would do something to make it safe to go outside. And something about, hey, the people went outside. So in this episode, he's like, the people went outside and they didn't die for a little bit of time. So they didn't die as quickly as he thought they would, and none of them were in any sorts of suits. He also, in a previous episode, for those of you who like to detect and put things together, in a previous episode, he was like, the people went out for a bit, but then the dust came back in. So there's a lot of clues in there. There's something on level 14, a pipe that comes in from the outside, and it's seemingly the safeguard gas or something, right? Ooh, not good. We don't know what happened to Solo's mom either. So, all right, sorry. Take it away, Catfish. What do you think?
I'm just saying this is the silo speculation, but I've been talking all season about like what could be worse than everybody going outside and dying. Like Bernard was worried about. He said it's something worse, and again, it's the safeguard is everybody in the silo dying, but
yep.
So it's not any bigger than, if everybody went outside and died. But what you have to assume is that is a protection to stop them from going over to other silos, interacting with other people in other silos.
That's an assumption you could make. No comment as a book reader, as a multiple book reader. So, okay.
I mean, to me, it seems like that could be the only reason. The only reason to kill everybody in the silo, I mean, you're killing an entire silo. So the only reason to do that is so that they don't mess with other silos. Poison, not literally, but figuratively, other silos.
Okay, that is good. All people who've read the second and third book, we're going to bite our tongue for a book.
I think it's logical to assume that, because that is, I can understand like saying, okay, we got problems here. Let's try and get rid of half the people and start over again. But if you're going to kill everybody, that is to save more than those people. So that's it. I'm just going to assume that I'm smart. Someone said we were the Abbott and Costello, so I'm not sure which one I am. But I'm going to assume that that's a smart assumption.
No, I'm telling you who's on first.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen to me. The Audrey and Eater scene, that was one of the scenes where, to me, it felt like we were stepping on the brakes. Anything to say about it other than Juliette got to act wise for a bit? And almost, once again, I mentioned last week that I thought Audrey in Silo 17 was a junior Juliette about always being angry. It was like Juliette was almost explaining her past actions about how you can be angry with someone instead of at someone.
I mean, the funny thing is, usually I'm the person that doesn't care about the emotional scenes. I just want to get back to stuff. And you're like, okay, I see the value in this. And for me, the times this week that you say the tension stopped, I thought it was nice because what's happening is, you all of the time talk about Hitchcock and the ticking bomb underneath people's seats. And so this to me is what's happening in these. We see the effect on these people who are scared, who are maybe going to die, and we know there's a clock ticking. So to me, the tension is not lost in those scenes, and there's an emotionality to it.
Okay. Boy, Catfish, it took you 2 seasons and 10 episodes, but we got you there. Share your heart.
Thank you.
Solo becomes a true hero. The one suit feels like either moths or something happened to eat it, maybe rats. Solo tests the other suit to see if the helmet seal works. So much stuff. Chef's kiss. Great job, Solo. Both Eater and Jimmy, Solo, ask Juliette if she'll come back. With Eater, Juliette is kind of afraid to say, I'm not going to. But with Jimmy, she tells him, hey, nothing's going to stop me from trying. I love that moment. I love these two working together. Again, there's a part of the back of my mind that says that's why I was so frustrated with so many episodes. I'm like, why are these two always fighting? But I love that moment of, hey, Juliette telling him, nothing's going to stop me from trying.
And I just love that Juliette's like, I want y'all to get along, but also, Eater, I'm not coming back for you.
So now I know why you went 10 out of 10. Finally, the truth. You were acting like emotions were good. You're like you big softy, but you were suckering me in so that you could drop that. I love it. Okay, it is time to go to Silo 18, where the
boom, fireworks.
Fireworks
again,
factory
once again, you're like,
wonderful.
give me the fireworks factory.
This was it.
And compared to the book, this was like a nuclear bomb going off instead of fireworks.
You love saying that as a person who doesn't want to mention the books in this part of the podcast. I'll say I politely disagree, but I'm glad that you loved it. So, all right, Knox and Shirley, they've got a plan. Once again, this is kind of fun because we as the audience can try to see various parts of their plan. We knew that they knew Walker was the bad person, but they're bringing Doc Nichols into part of their plan. Dr. Nichols is like, wait a minute, why in the world could you need me? I'm helping people in the down deep for medical conditions. And Knox says, there's something more pressing. War. Bum, bum, bum. I've wanted it all season. Why am I making my pesky points? This is what I wanted. Hell yeah. The brains of the down deep gather together. That's Knox, Shirley, Walker, Hank, Billings. They're going to storm the barricade.
Yeah.
And they've got 3 hours to get the truth, or they're going to blow up the generator. And Bernard falls for it. You're a Bernard bro. How could he, Catfish? How could he fall for it? Good. I love it.
Bernard was on top of the world a couple episodes ago.
He was.
And he's staggering around like somebody, like he lost his pet frog by the end of this episode. Where's Hoppy?
No, he's a frog and Toad, and like Toad lost frog. It's like, well, why do I exist? He sends out the true hero, Amundsen, to break down the barricade and take down the rebels. Why are you giggling? Did you not see Amundsen's great plan of swinging that barrel over the side to take out the barricade? Was that not awesome? That was awesome. You know it. Amundsen and Nons unite.
Hey, you know what? I can only laugh because little beknown to me, you took the winning horse. Bernard was like 7 lengths ahead, and he pulled up lame, and Amundsen flew right through the tape.
Amundsen throws the barrel over the ledge. He flattens not only the barricade, but some sucker. Ooh, I love action. Give me action. This is so fun. The Raiders are attacking in force. Lucas, who has been off on his own little side quest. He's had to beat up a down deeper who wants to throw him in jail. Then he literally gets taken out by the Raiders. Youch. Shirley and Knox, they have their weapons, and the idea is, hey, let's pause this and talk about this, Catfish, besides describing it, in that Knox and Shirley, they have weapons, they attack the Raiders, but certainly their plan is for them to get caught. So how much fighting do you think they actually did with the Raiders if the idea is, okay, we can beat them up for a bit, but we have to get caught? What is the right amount of ass kicking before you're like, okay,
Bubba,
we've lost?
You got me. You see, this is one of the reasons why I rated this episode so highly, was because I am, as all our listeners know, easily duped. So as this was all going on, I'm like, this can't possibly be part of their plan. Like,
right? No,
why aren't
no.
like you would think at least Knox and Shirley would be in some adjunct group doing something else. So Bubba, this is where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. They actually don't know. They're actually getting suckered by Bernard.
Oh wow. Once
I mean, who knows, Bubba? Who knows if your hero Amundsen might not just decide, you know what would be good? Why don't I kill one of these suckers?
Right. The show of force.
Yeah, a show of force. I mean, very dangerous plan, Bubba.
You know what I wish? The only thing that could have raised it to 10 out of 10 for me is Amundsen gets down. He sees the silo generator is not wired to blow. And he says to himself, these idiots, they didn't even know how to connect these wires. Here, let me show you how it's done. Now, Paul Billings, he goes to his wife and kids. Yeah. The Raiders bust down the door to take him. And I love this one Raider. Hey, nothing personal, buddy. Just doing the job. Oh, everyone is captured. Bernard is on top. He's turning on radio communications. And even Sims and Camille are watching, and they're like, oh boy, this is not good.
Yeah, right. Speaking of picking the right side, they're a little concerned at this point.
They're like, well, we've been on everybody's side at least once this season. Who's that going to end up with? Now, Camille pretty much gives Sims marching orders. Get away into the gosh darn vault. Amundsen, man, once again, just perfect. He's telling the prisoners they'll be safe. Everybody who's being put into this giant pen. And then when somebody destroys one of the monitors in that level's cafeteria, Amundsen does the right thing. Lawbreakers must be put down.
Love it.
And Patrick Kennedy, once again, everything reminds me of how some things weren't built to correctly, in my opinion. Hopefully, listeners, you don't have any of the pesky problems.
No, I agree. I said it last week.
I know. But Patrick Kennedy has gone.
Should have been earlier.
Right. Patrick Kennedy, he's gone. He's had enough. He is screaming at the world. Finally, he finds a human being who actually saw what he did. Secretary Sandy comes up and goes, I did see the blue-green world. That is enough for him to just start yelling, Juliette lives. This is wonderful. This is great. And then the chef's kiss. Carla totally dissing Walker. This great romantic reunion that everybody's hoping for.
I mean, I gotta give
good.
Bubba, with all the love you're giving to Amundsen, how can you not love how heavy he puts it on here with Bernard is so pleased with you, Walker. You're free to go and do whatever you want. I mean, Amundsen,
right. He should have been like a game show host. And Walker, for being treacherous, you've won 2 free passes to dinner at the beautiful garden area. You get this. Who wants more chits? You get more chits.
I'm trying to decide who took the L more in this episode, Bernard or me for sticking with Bernard and you taking Amundsen. This is horrible.
Hold on. I've got somebody else whose team I've been on for a long time, and we're going to get to him.
Tell me.
We're going to get to him right now. So let's go through this story. Dr. Nichols, what is his thing? He's supposed to...
It better not be Dr. Nichols. You haven't been on his
team. Get ready.
Okay.
So Dr. Nichols, he's like, hey, I've got a patient. You got to let us up. You got to let us through. So much is going on that they get allowed to pass. Now, they do drop the timer, the detonator for this bomb. Terrible. But later on, this is so good. We're past all the bad raiders. Okay, you guys go. We realize the person they're pretending they need to fix up is Deputy Hank. The bomb isn't going to work.
Oh, boy.
Somebody's got to manually set off this bomb to trap all the judicial raiders on the down deep. Now, only one person could do it. Only one person could set off this bomb, and it's a person I've been on their side all season long.
Who is that, Bubba?
Deputy Hank. Deputy Hank once again proves how smart he is by not setting off the bomb himself.
What did I tell you? This silo could collapse into one big hulk of metal, and who would be scurrying around in between the beams? It would be Deputy Hank. He's a survivor.
Total survivor. They're so good. This is cross-cut with Walker and Bernard's scene in Bernard's office. What did you think of those scenes, Catfish, where it's solely we're let in on the plan? You know, Bernard offers her a drink. He's like, yeah, once we find out the generator's safe, it's over. You've done your part. But Walker explains the plan. The generators are so loud you have to yell. Oh, this is so good. What I also thought was great was Bernard being bored with it. He's like, are you going to get to the point? This was me too. I was like, come on, you're stepping on the gas. Let's get to it.
Well, I mean, I just thought, is Bernard really going to sit there and listen to it? But he thinks he's such a winner. I guess he doesn't care. And then Bubba the Beautiful, she does the countdown in 4, 3, 2, 1. And then Bernard's like, was there something supposed to happen there?
So good, heck yeah. Wonderful. But then let's bow our head and give a moment of silence to Dr. Nichols. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Okay, there we go. Total silence for Dr. Nichols. What do you think?
Was it?
Catfish, what do you think about this? You kind of been tough on him all season. You're like, why is he even in the show? Some of our listeners have felt this way too.
I'm not tough on him. I'm tough on the writers. Why they have him in this episode is this really why we've seen so much of him?
To me, this is powerful, mainly because this actor is so great. Ian Glenn is so good. Mm-hmm. He is, to me, able to sell it. And if he's going to leave the show, like if your character is going to leave a show, this is the way you want to go. If you're going to leave this mortal coil, you want to do it for something's worthwhile. I would say let's not do it now because we love this episode so much. But a part of me wonders, did he actually have to do it? These Raiders were down on floor 90, they were trapped below 92. Are you telling me even if he didn't set the bomb off, they'd be able to get up to the top, the first floor where where Bernard was and the mob was?
You got to cut them all. You got to cut them all off, Bubba. Listen, this was the plan.
Okay, yeah.
Many people got captured, beat up, shot as a warning. Who knows what could have happened to him? This is the plan, and he's got to fulfill his destiny.
The one great thing about, besides this tragic moment of Dr. Nichols leaving, is this is when you realize 100% our heroes, the good guys, have completely won. The mob is coming. Bernard he's begging Amundsen to find anybody for help. Good luck there, buddy. Lucas shows up, and Lucas, ran a bit faster than the whole mob. And I loved, once again, I loved so much in this episode. I loved the way Lucas told Bernard about this safeguard. He's like, hey, if it hears us, we're all dead. So I'm going to say it, pretend like you're listening. We as an audience don't hear, but Bernard's reaction afterward and Lucas quitting afterward. Oh my God, so good. Bernard, let's give it up to Tim Robbins. We don't always talk about the acting, but Tim Robbins as the broken Bernard, incredible.
Fabulous. I'm going to miss his Cheshire cat grins. If he's gone, who knows?
If he's gone, that's the question.
He's gone. But I will say, even if he's back, I'm not so sure he's going to be as cocky and self-assured as he has been. And that's what made me a Bernard bro, was his cock of the walk attitude.
Oh, so good. And Sims, I mean, this is a weird way to describe it as luck, but has anybody ever been so lucky in his whole life? The idea was, hey, Sims, his wife,
get into the vault.
Right, get into the vault. Listen, Bernard, hey, you want to be my shadow here? You want the key to the vault here? Here's this. Like, what? Sims is like, let me buy a Lotto ticket. This is my day.
Perfect day to assume charge of the silo.
Now, Bernard goes to his apartment. We assume, or I assume, did you assume that he was getting a suit? Like, that was obviously what he had gone to grab. Had you put that together, Catfish?
I had not, but when I saw him in his suit, that makes sense.
That gave it away.
And once again, I find the way the show handles this great.
Okay. Lucas goes to his mom. Once again, it's not the scene that I hate. It's where it's placed in all the action that I did not like. But his mom is nervous. And I wrote in the show notes, well, she's nervous, parentheses, kind of nervous. Like, this is not somebody who's like, hey, son, there's a lot of screaming and the Shiloh shook for a little bit.
She says to him, there was a bomb that they felt all the way in Silo 17.
Yeah.
An explosion.
But I'm your mom. How about some home cooking? What? Bomb just went off. Come on.
I found Bernard's frog. We're going to cook him up. Hoppy's going to taste delicious.
Hold on. This is something we've been talking about. And I've said, what's funny is not before Walker's heel turn, or fake heel turn, as it turned out. But did you feel good? Did you feel happy that Carla and Walker reconnected and Carla realized, and certainly was told after the fact, hey, Walker's on our team. Don't worry. Did that hit you in the feels, Catfish?
No,
10 out of 10.
Because I was so proud of myself when I thought I was justified in my feelings of dislike for Walker. So to find out that she's like a good guy, Bubba, didn't make me happy. In here, right in the feels.
Oh, okay.
I felt bad.
There's so much cross-cutting. Sims breaks into Lucas's apartment with a gun, destroying a very touching moment between Lucas and his mom. That's possibly an odd moment in the show. Right. But Sims comes in with a gun, demanding to know what he said. Mom, Lucas's mom, Mrs. Kyle, I'll give her this. She gave me a slight chuckle when she was like, is there a way you could put that gun down? And Sims pretty much like, hell no. This is the best Sims has ever been. We've kind of, you have been tough on Sims. I've kind of joked about how his storyline makes him look so incompetent at times. But I thought he was great in this scene. I thought it was really, really good. And Lucas is good, telling him, dude, it's over. Here, you do whatever you want. Here's the code.
I love the acting tonight and the way the way they moved all the different pieces, I thought was phenomenal. I didn't say this earlier, but Bubba, I think this is one of, like, not just the best episode of Silo, but this is like one of the maybe top 10 or 15, I think, television episodes. Wow. Favorite episodes of mine. Like, that is so hard to move all these pieces around and everything. It's just beautiful. Like you say, Sims was great in this scene. Lucas is great in this scene. Yes, it's just beautiful.
Ignore how they got there. There is a mob ready to go outside. And what's so funny is our heroes have won, and suddenly they have to start fighting again. Knox, Billings, Shirley, they have to stop this mob from going outside. Billings, who I think sometimes they've been tough on the character, as I love the character, but sometimes they've had him be really poorly motivated, I guess, maybe in some of these scenes. He is begging Bernard to tell everybody to come out and tell the truth. I loved it so much. The mob is making a ram. This is perfect. And even though I think you could see this moment, because the show possibly did too good a job telegraphing it from the very beginning, when does Juliette show up? Right when everybody needs her.
Holy cow. Perfect. Amazing.
Perfect.
So beautiful. People are so excited. They want to join her. No, but she cleans and she holds up a sign that says...
She cleans, man.
She cleans. It says, not safe, do not come out. And then there's what I thought was a very weird moment, Bubba.
Oh, wait, 10 out of 10 weird moment? Let's hear it.
She's holding the sign and then, like, she slips and falls. I thought that was like weird. I was like, did something happen to her? What? That was just odd. I thought it was just odd.
Well, what I thought was odd is that did she really think she could pry open the giant metal doors and get in? I thought, of course, I should have thought about it. Like, how did she expect to do this? I love that she couldn't. I love that she couldn't actually pry it open, because that's reality. That's also shows that, boy, our hero has gone so far, and our hero is not Superman. Will run into challenges. Suddenly the doors start opening. There's only one person down there who could have opened the door, and I knew it was Bernard. I love it. Just gold. Just gold.
Holy cow.
Is there more that we want to say about the Sims family trip to the vault? The algorithm, please state your name. Why are you here? Sims, I want to save the silo. The algorithm, so do I. The way I'm going to do it is kick your ass out of there. Get out of here and take Sims Jr. too. Camille can stay. Gold. This storyline has been a bit of a mess. I'm sorry I keep bringing up my issues with season 2, but this moment is a 10 out of 10 gold, Catfish.
Bubba, this just goes to show, right? We're like, you know what? Bernard's been following the rules of the algorithm. We think the algorithm's been telling him things, and these things have been wrong. This just goes to show the algorithm knows its shit.
100%. Never question the algorithm, man. If it says, hey, we're gonna run the safeguard protocol, at this point I'm like, well, you probably know best. Let's do it. All right, so we get to this point, a great scene. These two have been apart all season long. They had great headbutting at the end of season 1. Bernard and Juliette get face-to-face time. Love it. Bernard, he is over it, man. He's like, they can kill us anytime. I've done everything I was supposed to do. I'm doing all these things, and what's the point? Love it. Solid gold. The door, I always try to point this out. I think listeners get it, but there's like one door from the, like what you call the police station jail area to an antechamber. And then there's a door at the antechamber into the stairwell up, and at the top of the stairwell up, there's the metal teeth with the doors.
Yeah, so but I thought that I don't remember this being explained on the show.
You mean the fire at the end? No, that's never been explained on the show. It maybe was kind of shown once, but it's never been explained on the show. So I suppose it's okay to talk about this from a book perspective, but the idea of the antechamber, the room between the stairs up to the outside world and the sheriff's station kind of jail area, that little antechamber which fills with gas. Anytime they open the door and then close it, they pretty much light the room ablaze in fire because they want to kill these toxins from the outside world. They want to burn them so that they're out. So if somebody opens the door to the jail area in the antechamber, theoretically everything's been killed by the fire. So, yeah, they've never explained that on the show at all.
Well, I hope Bernard used the good tape.
The heat-resistant tape, please, dear God.
Otherwise, he's going to be double B.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure out how many different double Bs. So it could be
do it.
Burnt Bernard. It could be
not that
baked Bernard.
Not
it could
that
be broiled Bernard.
Not.
Hold on. Let's see.
You're on the right track.
I'm keen to guess. Beef fried Bernard. I'm sorry. Where were you going? Where are we going?
Barbecued Bernard.
Yeah,
you were so close. You were so close.
I shut up. Okay, Catfish, because you've only read the first book.
Yeah.
Juliette and Bernard are diving as they're about to be barbecued. And suddenly we're on a different show. We are on a different show. There's a part of me that wonders, and listeners, we haven't said it much this episode, but we want your feedback. We want to know how you took it. How does it feel to leave such an intense, great moment and suddenly be on a different show? We are in, obviously, Washington, D.C. This is not the show. Like, we are on a different show. How did this wonderful, what I believe is a wonderful tease to where we're going next, how did it feel to you? How did it play? You went 10 out of 10. Did this final scene play that way for you?
I mean, it was a bit of a shock, but you know what I enjoyed about it, Bubba, was just the little, I thought they were very subtle about what was going on. This is not like we've got to set up these silos or whatever. This is way before that, and this is we get the little hints, we get the dirty bomb, we get the guy gets scanned before he goes into the bar.
Scanned. He asked the guy scan it. He's like, hey, they're having you scan outside even. Do you ever get a red? I assume that means, somebody comes up showing signs of that dirty bomb. And the guy with the scanner says, not really. These are, I think, wonderful.
Either that dirty bomb or they're scanning people to make sure they don't have a bomb on them.
Right. Wonderful. Love it. And we see this person who the subtitles, of course, he says it multiple times, but the subtitles before he said it announced he's a congressman and he's there to see Helen
from the University of Georgia.
That's the congressman. Helen is an Oregon Duck. Man, our international listeners, do you get these collegiate sports team mascot references? He's serving the fighting 15th, the good people of Georgia. Any thoughts on this, Catfish, this date, what the kids call a date, you know? Any thoughts on this and the infamous...
But what clearly was not a date.
No,
I did recognize the guy. He was in Succession. He was what's her name's past lover, reporter as well.
Right, who was working on the campaign for everybody watching Succession. Right. He was working on the campaign of the people, the Roys. Most of the Roys didn't want to win that presidential election in the end. So yeah. Ashley Zuckerman, I believe his name is.
Yeah. And it's funny because you see those two people and you're like, okay, this isn't a one-off. We had talked about whether we were going to get some sprinkled in the past stuff in previous episodes. I said I didn't really need it.
Let me say we mentioned that in spoiler parts of the podcast.
Oh, sorry, you can take that up. Oh, well, I mean, okay, all right. Well, sorry. I mean,
I think it's fine to say. Sure,
it's a general question, right? And I said I didn't need it, but now we're gonna get it. So hopefully they do it as deftly as I thought they did this one scene tonight.
Jessica Henwick, for everybody who's been following this great actress, she was one of the Sand Snakes on the show Game of Thrones. A lot of people considered her, I forget her character's name, apologies, might be Colleen Webb. I forget what her name was. She may be the best part on Iron Fist, the Netflix show. A lot of people love her. I think she's a great actress. I'm very excited. And her parting gift, Catfish, is this a good enough hook? Her parting gift is a red level relic, the Pez dispenser, man. But
it was a yellow level relic because it's a yellow Pez, red level relic, yellow level relic. No, I think it's great. I mean, we're sitting here watching this scene. It goes on for a while. Obviously, we know that this has to do with the silo. This is not. This is. They're not giving us a sneak of Severance. So it was nice to see the Pez dispenser. Yeah. That way, we know we're going to get this history, and also we assume these people will be in Silo 18.
I love it. Well, you mean season 3? Oh, you mean because the Pez dispenser ends up in Silo 18? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So let's have you do some Silo speculation. In this this scene at the end of season 2, episode 10, we met this congressman from 15th District of Georgia, and we met Helen. That wasn't exactly kind of a great romance. I don't even know how. Was she trying to get information for a story? She wants to know if what he's going to do to retaliate against Iran, implying that Iran dropped the dirty bomb. Do you think these two characters we met at the end are heroes, villains, people who create the silo, people who fight the silo? What are your thoughts or any speculation you have about Helen and the congressman she had dinner with there, or didn't have dinner with?
It's a little bit weird because she like you. It's just the way you said it. It's instead of kind of asking questions, there was almost a value judgment. What are you going to do about Iran? Instead of are there plans for Iran that I can write about? Based on nothing, that with the Pez in there, that these will be somehow he will be involved in the project because he's in the government. I feel like this is going to be a longer, 10, 15-year development process for the silos. I don't really, it feels like we're kind of starting at the beginning. So who knows how much planning has gone into it, but that they will develop a relationship. He'll get higher up in the government. And as you always assume, when bad things happen, it's like a Dr. Strangelove.
Catfish, would you answer or would you assume these are heroes or villains, these two, or neither? They're just normal people who are going to somehow be involved in the creation of this silo.
Yes, they will be. It depends on your point of view. Are you people who get to go in those silos, then they might be heroes to you because they'll help develop them. Are you people who get stuck outside the silo and they get to go in? They're villains to you.
Well, how about this? Is the silo? So right now, based on what we've seen through 2 seasons, is that in some ways this is authoritarianism. This is my way or the highway. We've always kind of questioned when we thought Bernard was really in charge of, well, he's doing it because if people go outside, they're going to get killed by the toxins. Is there a way you could see the people who created this authoritarianism world, these people who create the algorithm and stuff, could they be doing the right thing? Could they be doing the right thing? They're doing the wrong thing, but for the right reasons? Where do you imagine this story is going to go?
Well, I'm not joking when I say that I'm a little confused even by you saying, are they doing the wrong thing? I mean, presumably there was a plan to keep the human race, or at least the American the United States, to keep that going, and there was some sort of disaster and people had to go underground, and because of that, and I don't know, I may have been poisoned by I was so taken by your idea last week of the algorithm running everything, because it makes sense. You want to have something that is going to kind of enforce the same rules over and over again, and the only way to do that, people don't live that long, is to have some sort of machine with a set of guiding principles that runs everything. Now, obviously, it's not doing that great of a job. We almost had a revolution in Silo 18.
Yep.
Silo 17 is dead. We don't know what's going on with the other silos. People are people, and so how long that this kind of can go along before they come back, before people are able to return to the surface, it seems like this has been a really long time, and doesn't seem like things are clean. Although we did have that hint tonight of like people went out and it was okay for at least a little bit. So that's also intriguing. That was a nice little nugget dropped in there.
All right. So now this is silo speculation I think everybody can do, even if you haven't read the books. This season, which at times we were very tough on, at times you were tough on about, well, good grief, let's go to Silo 17. Let's do it. Silo 17 could have felt for you and others, so disconnected from the main story. How is this show going to will it be able in your hand to be able to tell what's currently, we've got to find out what's going to happen with 18 if Juliette and Bernard both live, or one of them live in the fire, and how they're going to make sure the safeguard doesn't hit to Silo 18. We've got Solo and the kids in 17. You don't introduce them and then just totally forget about them. But then you've also got a storyline set possibly hundreds of years before it. How are you going to keep some of those storylines, maybe all of the storylines, from not feeling like 3 distinct stories? We talked about how in this episode 10, the fact that both silos were dealing with the safeguard kind of allowed the stories to kind of feel connected. How can the show succeed having 3 storylines spread out, not only of distance between the 2 silos, but of possibly hundreds of years? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. The funny thing is, I'm less worried about that than this. So season 1, building towards Juliette going out of the silo. What happened? Kind of a mystery. This year, prepare for war. We had a war. And as we've said over and over again, there was a lot of dog paddling, but we had explosions the last 2 episodes. So what I'm more worried about is, what are they going to do to keep the tension and the interest? I don't think having the backstory is going to be interesting. I don't know how it's going to feed into the modern day, but okay, so there's still obviously a power struggle in 18, but I don't think that's going to be good enough. I think season 3 is going to have to expand our world into the other silos and see what's going on in the other silos and build some suspense and tension from that. So I'm less worried about the stories working together than like them having something to build towards in season 3.
No, I think that's a good worry. it's possible you could have a bunch of storylines feel disconnected as long as they all, once again, have tension, have dramatic forward momentum. I think it can work. The one thing, even though I liked it, I gave the episode 9 out of 10. This scene, as you mentioned, it's not like they picked a knock 'em out of the park scene to start this stuff in the past with. This is very much the most subtle tease. There's no, we left a real tense scene of Juliette and Bernard getting baked, and we cut to, the antithesis of a tense scene, something that was very, very subtle, subtle hints to what's going on and how the story could go. And there's a part of me who has read that second book, I'll go ahead and stand, I'll testify that of the 3 books, the second book was my least favorite. I think it's still got some good things in it. It's still got a couple of jaw-dropping, oh my God, wait, what moments? Like, there are a couple of moments in it where you're like, wait, what? Holy smokes. Almost as great as some of the jaw-dropping moments from the first book. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting if you haven't read the books. The one thing I'll give one of the many things I'll give the show, outside of a 9 out of 10 rating, is they are really sprinkling things. So if you are one of those people who love to theorize, I think they've given you almost enough clues to theorize about everything. And I think hopefully you have come around, those of you who are like me, who are really tough on a lot of this season, hopefully you love this and you get really excited for where they could go in season 3. And we know there's a season 3 and season 4 coming up. And that means it is time. All rise. Catfish.
Yeah.
Rob Sims' judicial debate of the season. Final one of the season. Who is the season 2 MVP? Let's hear your thought.
The season 2 MVP. I mean,
let's hear it. A lot of newbies like Steve Zahn as Solo Jimmy. We've got, I feel like Knox and Shirley really didn't have much to do in season 1. They kind of took over a whole storyline. They were our reps in Silo 18, if you want to. You could give it to Camille Sims, who also this season really had a great glow up. Who is your MVP of season 2? Listeners, we want to hear from you. Who's your MVP of season 2?
Well, Bubba,
could be the old standbys, Bernard and Juliette. Let's hear it.
Bubba, you answer first because everyone knows what your answer is going to be.
Okay. Secretary Sandy. The fact that she finally admitted that she saw the green grass and blue sky world. Finally. I love how she kept that a secret until episode 10. Secretary Sandy.
That was your real MVP. We know who it is. It's Amundsen. Don't lie.
I am not going Amundsen, even though I am an Amundsen anon. I'm not going Deputy Hank, even though I am a big Deputy Hank fan. I am, in my intro, I kind of gave it away. I think Camille Sims. I think that storyline has always been tough. I don't think they've always even put it together. Let me say on some shows, it's enough to know, I want that job. I want that job. But on this show, the fact that they never really had a long discussion of why the Sims wanted Rob to be the Shadow and get into IT, they never really, even in season 1, there was never a great discussion about it. So I think that's some of the reasons why I feel like that storyline has failed. But Camille as a character, to me, is really, if you watched her in season 1 and told me at the end of season 2 I was going to be cheering when she gets to stay in IT, I couldn't have said it in a million years. So I think Camille Sims is my season 2 MVP.
Well, Bubba, since you, I'm not going to say you stole my answer since you went first. That is my answer. So I'm going to give you an additional one. Okay. There's an MVP and then there's an MIP, most improved player.
Oh, love it. Okay, good.
I think Lucas is the most improved player this season from where he was last season. You were really down on him because of the situation in the book and what he was in the show, and he has really come on this season.
I agree. And Catfish, I think that's a great vote for most improved. And the show, Lucas maybe wasn't in the first 3 episodes. Like, the show kind of snuck his growth, his glow up in some ways on us as an audience. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I could see that. Listeners, who's your MVP? Who's your MIP? Who's your favorite podcast to subscribe to? Please subscribe. The algorithm is going to kick us out with Rob Sims unless you guys subscribe. It's
The
tough algorithm.
The Deputy Hank survivor of the season, once again won by Deputy Hank.
What's funny is Dr. Nichols was in it with him, and somehow Hank survived. Okay, well, what's the next section here, Catfish?
Bubba, these are the double D's, double C's.
Wait, oh boy, you really threw me. Not double Q's or double K's. Okay, the double D's, double C's. No idea. What could it be?
The deeply dumb Catfish questions.
What do we got this week, Catfish? Come on. Yeah.
Bubba, listen, this just goes along with the rest of this episode. Like I said, you know what? Somehow the episode swept me up. It blew my critical hat right off of me. And so my only question this week is, when can we get season 3? I want it now.
Catfish, the world, I'm saying we, you and I, but I think the whole world is a bit frustrated of how long these shows are. Severance, which we've mentioned multiple times, 3 years, Catfish, 3 years. Andor, most likely when it comes back, is going to be just short of 3 years away. Say what you want to about Silo, and I have for most of this season. It was away for just a little over a year. They are currently filming season 3, possibly filming season 4 at the same time. You tell me, you know how much effects work does happen on this show. And now, instead of filming everything indoors at the silo, they're going to have this section in the past where they can film outdoors. If they're filming now, and I assume it's another 10-episode season, what are you thinking? You thinking January 2026? You thinking late fall 2026? Can they make it exactly a year?
I'm thinking maybe April of 26, and then since they're presumably shooting the other one back to back, April of 27.
I like that. Can you survive? Can all our listeners who are sick of us mentioning the books, are they going to be able to hold off and not immediately go pick up that second book and see exactly? And admittedly, the second book and the book and the show have some good detours now, if you like detours. But I think you could kind of just go to that second book and at the very least kind of be caught up to speed on where the story is going. Maybe don't go to the third book unless you really, really want to know how it ends. But I think you could read the second book and really probably just spoil some of next season. Because, spoiler alert, some of next season is going to be based on the third book. So you read the second book, you'll get some of the season spoiled, but not all the season.
Well, they did 2 seasons on the first book, and how much would you say on the second book? 10%, 20%?
Without spoiling the second book, they probably have, if not revealed, it's just hard to say. I guess some of the stuff with Jimmy Solo is how I'll explain it. They've kind of pulled up into this season. And so maybe 20-ish% of the second book has found a way in. Maybe. It's my math on that may not be good, but
Matt Murdick's musical analysis. This is your last time this season to get his musical analysis.
Hey, look, there were some good things about this score. Most of it very functional in the way that most of it has been this season, but I really enjoyed the episode, and I do feel like some of the music enhanced it. I'm not going to get in too much today. I will say once again, this running motive that goes up, or sometimes for a variation he'll reverse it and go down, this one has put me to about my wit's end. But other than that, I thought this episode was very good musically. I'm not going to talk too much. Some of the stuff we've already talked about this season because they are the highlights, but he really brought them out in this particular finale. One of the themes, of course, the Solo theme, which we talked about last week, was very prominent during Solo and Juliette's last conversation. And really, the one that really got me was when he was in his old room and he was recalling his parents. That's a version of that theme too. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to last week's episode, check out the musical analysis there. Another theme that we heard that was well brought up because it hadn't been used that much except for Juliette's father. It was brought back when he was doing the whole bomb thing. I think even when he was talking to them before. We've talked about that one this season already as well, so no need to go over that. But one of the things that Atlee does that is textbook correct, but it just seems like it gets used so much, is his use of dissonances and the switch between major and minor to create those dissonances. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it seems to be the only trick in the bag that he has. While everybody was getting arrested and being paraded up the stairs, you heard a theme like this. I mean, it's interesting. It has very strange jumps in some places that create additional tension or release. But all of the intervals between the two are pretty textbook. Let's establish that we have a minor chord with this one. Minor, of course, tells us this is dark. Not dark enough? Let's take that minor and bring the fifth down a half step in order to make it diminished, because that always makes things even scarier. But wait, you think things are going to be resolved, except they really aren't. First he gives you a major third, and then he follows it by the minor third above it. Oh, wait a minute. Let's throw in the major 9 so that it'll sound like it's the chord above the root to give it some weirdness, and then use a tritone back down to say, oh, nope, we're in minor still. And all of these things are fine. They're things that composers use all the time. But most of the time, they're a little bit more clever in hiding it. Usually I have to kind of look for things to pick out. I'm sure you picked all of this stuff out if you've been listening to my musical analysis yourself. The thing about bouncing back and forth between the major and minor, if it has a reason, that's fine. But it seems like he's just doing it for the sake of dissonance. I'm talking about this. Because there's no change in the mood, everybody's still handcuffed. Everybody is still in deep trouble. So there's no reason for the major third to be there. Granted, we've gotten to a point now where so many composers are kind of doing this thing. It's just probably the new way of doing things. But after years of Williams, of Shore, of Giacchino, viewers just aren't going to be tricked. So I've kind of rambled on, and it was interesting. I think the season as a whole, story-wise, gets an A+ from me. I really love the season. I know that some of you didn't like the slow points that much, but I love the way that those slow points invested me in the people for what was happening in this episode. I just kind of wish the music would. Back to Bubba and Catfish.
Be sure to follow him and all the work he does on Bustin' Blockbusters. Some of those videos are here on our YouTube channel. They are doing The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time, I think, is a great show to watch with this one. All the talk we've had this season, you and I, of books, and even in the first season of this book series versus the adaptation and such and such. I think Wheel of Time has had just as much, debate about, well, is this doing a good job of bringing the books to life? Well, I've seen the first 2 seasons of The Wheel of Time, and I would give it, overall a B, but some episodes, a bit like this, some episodes are really A. So if you're into that type of fantasy world, check out Wheel of Time, and definitely check out Double M's Bustin' Blockbusters series, all that he does on that.
Love it, Bubba. And what we're going to check out right now?
What's that?
Feedback from our listeners on episode 9. We are jumping the gun this week and doing the podcast as soon as possible so I can go on my mini brocation. And that's why the Severance podcast will be delayed until the middle of next week. But we're going to get our feedback from episode 9. And first of all, we have Shirley.
Yes.
777 says, love how smart, funny, and silly you two are.
Silly.
I love the political commentary. I can't believe I watched all the episodes without you guys. I discovered you too late. This slow-ass season could have gone better for me with you two. So frustrating. Shirley, there is so much room on the bandwagon. Believe me, we've got a space just for you, and we appreciate you commenting.
If you subscribe. If you don't subscribe, I'll stop being silly.
Stop it. You can't never do it.
Okay, Catfish, let's hear it.
Jay Garrick, The Flash, says Solo has a lot of gray for the late 30s. Solo stress is real. That's double S Solo stress.
Jimmy, get just for Jimmy's. It'll get that gray out. James F. said he just gives a bit of advice. He says, never read the book. Just enjoy the movie or TV show as is. Well, James F., I would say that there's this big debate online if men should or do men read fiction anymore? I'm one of those idiot men who still read fiction and I enjoy it. And I say, hey, I think you can watch this show and really enjoy this show and also read the book. But maybe James F. is right, so I'll tip my cap to him.
Patman Spinagle, our loyal listener and fellow broadcaster, says the Mechanicals are planning to put Bernard off his game. And then Patman smartly says, with Camille ready in the wings to rise up as leader, rise up, Camille Corps.
There we go, Patman. Whitney says, the character Shirley gets on my nerves. I mean, if she wants to know who's useless, maybe she should ask herself how useful her loud mouth was to Cooper. Oh, wait, R.I.P. Cooper.
No Interleaving says, Catfish, I do consider you intelligent. Oh, shucks. Yeah.
He's the one.
What do you think ice cream that's 352 years old would taste like? And why have only 3 people discovered the tunnel, which is ankle deep in water, over the course of 352 years?
Well, they take a forget-me drug, so forget-me drinks.
First of all, I love that you asked these 2 questions together because I think the ice cream tastes like the water in the tunnel. And why no one has discovered it is basically they're too busy working.
Heck yeah. Get that generator working, people. A great listener, Mr. Marvel, said, the kids in Silo 17 mentioned their parents were babies at the time of the rebellion. Wow. So not only have they only known life and this destroyed Silo 17, their parents did as well. I'm even more surprised that Eater Hope could read and how well everyone looks for knowing nothing but darkness their whole life. Dang.
Holy cow. Eater. We could call her Reader. Maybe she'll like that. Endless Mike says, I am really enjoying this season. Yeah. I read all the books as they came out, but have since drank the poison water and forgot everything. I've liked the time in both silos, including Solo, unlike Catfish. Yep. To add to that, my wife, who is a non-book reader, loves it.
Yeah, let me say my sister and her husband watch this show, and they love it too. And they're all caught up. They're normally people who only like to binge shows. So the fact that they have been watching this episode, admittedly, they did binge most of season 2, but the fact they're caught up, incredible. Absolutely right. Jolly wrote, members of the show production team got to binge watch it. And so maybe that's why they didn't realize the pacing was a major issue, because they watched all 10 episodes together. Absolutely, Jolly. I think that could be a good point. Listeners, people find this podcast all sorts of crazy ways. If you didn't watch week to week and you binged it, tell us what that experience is like. Do you think it's better in some of these, we're like, get on with it. If you could binge, you could jump right to these great 2 final episodes. So good point.
Well, you know what? It's fascinating. This brings up kind of an interesting point, is that in the past, when shows were kind of riding on a weekly schedule, the deficit was they would have an overall season plan, but maybe it wasn't as tight as this. But the positives were they're able to sort of react to see how things work and change things. I think the famous example is that in Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul was originally supposed to die in the first season, and as they saw the interaction and everything, they're like, this is great, we got to keep him around. So while it's a benefit to have the whole season planned out, you kind of don't get to respond to see how things are being taken to make adjustments.
Thanks for spoiling Breaking Bad, Catfish. Okay. Mr. 10 US Dad wrote, Oh, and this was a prediction. Sadly, I don't think this turned out to be right, but he predicted the safeguard would be the water, and possibly the other silo were at the bottom flooded, and so that would be the way they got him. Safeguard, it really seems to be some poison gas from level 14. That's what it feels like.
All right, and then Bubba, I'll read these. People are knocking me for having a crappy TV. C-Flip 2 times said, buy an OLED TV. It works for me. It sucks that it's so dark, but they could somehow find more lanterns, just an excuse to light it up. Thank you. Now, C-Flip was kinder to say, maybe they could use some lanterns, because Ballin' Out of Control 08 says, bro must have a shitty TV. Every episode I've watched has been crispy clear on the 104K TV. Darkness and sharpness level was fine. And OVDWM says, it's about having an OLED or not. Watching Solo on a non-OLED screen is pain, to be honest. Yes, thank you.
Oh, man. They dissing your TV because you always complain Silo 17 so dark, Catfish. How about this? Was Silo 17 too dark in this episode for your TV?
No, it was not.
Now, we've all season long, Catfish, you have tried to unite the Bernard bros.
Yes.
Jacob, listen to this. He says, hey, Catfish, I'm glad you're back on the podcast as always. As Lucas's shadow. So he's not Bernard's shadow. Jacob says he's Lucas's shadow. And he says, I was going to let you know of an opening down in the mines, Catfish. But why would you say you want to go out? I'll let Bernard know that you said you wanted to go out. Too bad Juliette used all the good tape. Ah, man, I hope you clean and bet $100 that you'll clean. He is TB Team Bernard. Thank you so much, Jacob. Hell yeah.
Wow. And Trouble Follows says, the mayor, Bernard, is smart. He keeps mechanical on defense by constantly putting false labels on them to minimize their voices. He poisoned mechanical food and framed them for the judge's murder, and now saying they have gunpowder to blow open the silo doors. The down team can't even communicate with the upper level to start a rebellion because of the barricades. And that's another Bernard, bro. Trouble and Jacob, I wonder how you feel tonight about Bernard.
You know what? He's great even when he's, when he's sick of this crap. I love Bernard. Episode 9, once again, we're doing this so quick. I keep checking, we have yet to have anybody write us their thoughts on this season finale. So we're going to give you some episode 9 reactions. Camille on Threads, she's at CamShay23 on Threads. She gave episode 9 10 out of 10 double S's, Catfish.
Double S's?
Saving silos.
Oh, not saving solos.
Camille, let us know what you thought of episode 10, because you said that episode 9 was the best episode of the season. Heck yeah. Reenie6 said in episode 9, the bonding between Juliette and Solo was so heartwarming. Loved it. Tobe Wilson Network about episode 9 says, I was right about the I squared.
I squared?
Intense ice cream.
A good old loyal listener, Tim's Retro, says, ooh, I liked episode 9. Gonna have to split my score on this one. 5 double S's for Silo 17.
Wait, double S's?
Saving Solo.
Oh.
And 5 double S's for Silo 18.
What? 18 double S's?
Scary. No, 5 double S's for 18. Silo 18, scary safeguard, giving a total of 10 quadruple S's.
Wait, quadruple S's?
Yes, saving Solo, scary safeguard.
Oh, okay.
I loved what Solo did with his vault.
Heck yeah.
I love what you've done with your vault.
Hobo Deluxe 007, who's been tough on me being tough on the show. And once again, Hobo Deluxe, remember, I've given the last 2 episodes 9 out of 10, so hey, you can be tough on me, but hopefully you'll be a bit kinder.
That's just because you don't want to get the hate.
I'm saying, Catfish, how could you? Hobo Deluxe loved episode 9. He loved every episode. He feels episode 9 was a great payoff episode with all the character building. All the pieces were in place. They had motivation. Hobo Deluxe says, I got very emotional when the kids and Solo made peace. His voice, Steve Zahn's voice, when he said, there's a baby, did it. Great feedback from Hobo Deluxe all season long.
All right, and Unknown says, for the first time, I prefer the path of Silo 17 over Silo 18. I love that life began to cover this warm place and the ice cream. Remember, it tastes like wastewater at the bottom of the silo.
Hey, now, Jerry Sugars said episode 9 was a great episode. Unfortunately for him, he thought episode 9 was the first great one of the season. 8 episodes of tropey filler is too much. Sometimes the burn can be too slow. He feels that season could have been a 2-hour movie. Well, hopefully, Jerry, you said episode 9 was great. I hope you love episode 10.
I mean, the first 8 episodes could have been an email. DV says, I love this episode. I was hooked from the beginning, but I do share the sentiment that they could have had some things happen a bit sooner, which would have made the season more balanced. Bernard's is in waffle iron with the heat of the rebels on one side and the AI with Safeguard on the other side. Yeah. I would assume that the Safeguard is coming to the silo through the tunnel. Raiders, a bomb, poison, or that the silo can be opened remotely. Thanks for the nice listen while taking down the Christmas tree.
Oh, thank you, DV. Great feedback all season long. Zombie Italian, another one. Boy, so many people with great feedback. He gave episode 9 triple T's.
Triple T's?
Terrific, terrifying tunnel at the end. Ooh. Man. I will say that the connection with Juliette, Solo, and the kids felt rushed to the connection, but he said it was a small one. Oh boy, Zombie Italian, you have been watching this show. You know what's going on. He's the one who said Sim's wife was a flame keeper. She, if she's a flame keeper and now she gets to stay in IT, love it. So good. That Dreadful Curtain loved episode 9, said it was just fantastic. Seeing those kids inside the silo was incredible with all the art and the music and the ice cream. Boy, you know what? This show should have had ice cream every episode. That's what
people love the ice cream.
People loved it. Dreadful Curtain said, well done to everyone involved in making it.
I love it. And Rabzid said episode 9 finally has things moving along, but it's a little too late for me. Aww. Something about the way the season's put together feels like an overall huge drop in quality. Aww. This is the sort of bait and switch drop in quality you get when the main writers, showrunners, or directors move on after. Maybe it was the writer's strike.
Now, that is a wonderful question. We'll try to go quickly through this. I do think they were filming in the 2023 writer's strike, but if you're filming in England, is there any way that could have worked, Catfish? Do you remember how that strike?
I don't know. They probably were done but before. Now, Heidi1 says, your thumbnail over the YouTube video had the word I said over and over watching the last episode. Finally.
Now, Sutton Daniels, he says that, or they say they liked it, but it's real funny. They said, your podcast is longer than the actual episode. Yeah, last week it was. There's a chance this week will be too.
Oh, there will be.
But he only gave episode 9 8.5 out of 10 double Fs.
Double Fs?
That's effing finally is what he says. However, like Catfish said, almost too much happened in episode 9. I love Catfish's idea of Eater and Jules walking back to 18 to explain everything. Well, Eater, I assume we're going to see her again, but not in Silo 18 anytime soon.
All right, and 1D Forever says, great episode, the best of the season.
And our final bit of feedback is Tommy Shabalong Dong. I don't even know how to say it.
Tommy Shabalong Dong. That's
perfect.
Great.
Tommy wrote, please do a Severance podcast. Now, our friends at Daily DVR, they're doing a Severance podcast that won't be delayed by brocations. However,
but we'll be as funny as our podcast, Bubba.
That's a low bar. Hey, we're about to go to some spoiler book talk on the second book shift. If you want to leave now, thank you guys so much. It has been a great season, even if we've been tough on certain episodes and certain scenes and certain things. Your feedback always brings a huge smile to our face, and you're part of this podcast as much as anybody. For everybody here at Double PHQ, my name's Bubba. You can find me on most social media at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on social media.
And I'm Catfish. You can hit me up at G to the Man. That is GETOTHEMAN on Instagram and Blue Sky. And we will talk to you for season 3, episode 1, entitled We're Gonna Go Really Slow on the Cleaning.